forecast for the week of December 20th to December 26th. This is the week of Christmas, Boxing Day, Christmas Eve. If you celebrate, a happy holiday season. And if you don't, that is okay too. In this part of the world, in the Western Hemisphere, in Canada and the US, it's a big deal. And so I always am quite interested in how the astrology is going to play out. And as I had an astrology session today with a client, it's quite interesting because as her chart intersected with this time of the year, it's coming up with a bit of turbulence. And knowing that her family was coming to visit, it was interesting because then she could be prepared and understand that maybe talking about some sensitive topics or knowing that her family was going to be triggered would not be her fault, would just be the energy. So to be really aware of that energy that's coming in and maybe choosing some other topics, or maybe choosing to relate to those outbursts or triggers in a different way was really helpful, because astrology is to be forewarned, is to be forearmed. So I hope that you can use this information to your best and highest to help manage whatever is going to be coming up for you in your world. So for December 20th, we start off the week with Mercury trine to Uranus. And Uranus is still retrograde in Taurus, talking about the earth, our banking system, and how we relate to those things is changing, shifting. Uranus is god of chaos. He likes to change things up. It's evolution. And Mercury is in Capricorn, and Mercury is our mind, right? It's our communication, the way we process thought and information. And in Capricorn is very organized, structured, practical. We're wanting to find ways to, this is the way this aspect is going to kind of come together, is we want to find logical, practical ways to help the environment, to help our banking system, maybe to regulate the banking system. I know there's going to be talk, and there has been talk with increasing interest rates, which I think is going to come up at this time because inflation has been so high. And for those of you who don't know what inflation is things are getting more expensive and our income isn't increasing either. So a basket of goods that we've kind of been using over the last 2 years has gone up substantially. And of course, there's a lot of pressures on that, right? With COVID and the Suez Canal was the Panama Canal, Suez Canal, one of those canals being blocked, shipping containers. There's a lack of drivers across Canada. There's now all these, testings and things that have to happen. And now in BC with the landslides there's trucking that's going through the US, which is adding time, adding money. So of course, everything is going up, right? And so during this time, Mercury trine to Uranus is we're coming up with ingenious ideas on how to help our structures and our society to get what they need, right? We're going to come up with ingenious ideas and technology breakthroughs, and maybe even ways to help society to up level in some way. So ingenious ideas to heal the earth, new policies in banking, new authorities and policies for the environment coming to fruition. In our personal lives, this can be ingenious ideas that we're getting now to use our money in a different way, or maybe use our resources in a different way. And maybe our connection or our conversations are going to be more enlightening and exciting and more kind of this genius spiritual quality to it. So that's exciting. And then Tuesday, December 21st is winter solstice. So winter solstice in astrology is when the sun moves into the sign of Capricorn. And that is the lowest part. If you think about, the northern hemisphere and the southern hemisphere, the sun has hit the lowest mark on that Tropic of Capricorn in the southern hemisphere at 23 degrees and 27 minutes, I believe. And so at that time, what happens is in the northern hemisphere, which is where I'm at in Canada, we have the least amount of sun, right? It's our darkest day on this day. And so we are celebrating in the Western hemisphere the coming of the sun, the light moving back into the world, so to speak. And if you're in Australia, which I do have quite a few people in Australia that follow me, this is the longest day of the year for you. The sun is the brightest and shining, almost directly overhead, so to speak. So this is kind of the peak of summer for you guys. And it's not really summer because I believe it's kind of colder there at this time of the year. But anyway, so at this time, it is now the brightest day of the year for you guys. So as we sort of look to see, what that means for us in the Northern Hemisphere, we welcome the sunlight back into the world. And it's also, the beginning of Capricorn season. And Capricorn season is practicality. It is cardinal earth. And so cardinal earth is starting projects that are going to last the test of time, right? We want things that are going to be practical, grounded in reality, that we can action. It's logical, and it's earth, right? It's kind of grounded, practical information. And when we think about where the sun was just coming from, Sagittarius, that Sagittarius is mutable fire, right? It just goes everywhere. It's so exciting. It just wants to talk and think about these big, ideas on the horizon. And we kind of are future visioning and dreaming. That's why I like to do the vision board workshops, sort of one in that time frame, because we can use that energy to vision. And then I do another vision board workshop in Capricorn season, because it's a different energy. It's almost like grounding that energy into reality. And it's interesting to see who signs up for what and how we're kind of being guided to which date feels aligned for us. So if that's something you want to get in on, my vision board workshops really use training and coaching and trauma-informed atmosphere to help us vision for the year ahead using the be, do, have model. So what do you need to be to do the things you need to do to have the things you need to have? And that's a very Capricornian, like we're sort of seeing that linear, logical, how we do and what we want to do, right? Where we want to go. So when you think about winter solstice, it's happening at 8:59 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. So in the morning of December 21st, which is a Tuesday, winter solstice. And it's a day where it can be a little bit churning up some things for you. So as we move, the energy is going to change. The moon is opposite Pluto on this day. So we could be kind of seeing more restrictions coming in, or we can see more things kind of where we're not able to do the things we really want to do, or feeling really intense. The moon is opposite Venus, where maybe we're feeling we can't get the things we want to get. Maybe you're trying to find something for Christmas and you can't find it because with the shipping system in North America is a little broken right now. Or even money, you're feeling like the kind of the pinch of money right now because you have to be so practical with bills and what that is. And so this is going to be inviting you to find ways to give the gift of time, maybe, or things that are going to be more kind of lasting impressions or value versus just things that you buy, like gift certificates and money and things like that. Because with Venus retrograde during this time, as we start off this week, we're coming off that Venus retrograde, which is asking us, what do we love and value, and how can we kind of shift what we value to make it feel good for us? And then we also came off that the full moon in Gemini, and we also came off Mercury and Mars moving into different signs as well. So this is a time where the energy is really shifting, and it's asking you, what do you value? And how can your relationships support what you value? How can your banking, your money, your finances support what you value? And how is the way that you see beauty and aesthetic in yourself and in others, how can that shift to really support what you truly value? Right? So if you value, compassion and kindness and non-judgment, can you then embody those things for you too? Because those are values, right? And then as we move into a Saturday, December 25th, which is Christmas, we now have a very intense Venus conjunct Pluto. Venus is in retrograde in Capricorn, asking us, what do you value? And Pluto is there going, do you really value those things? Pluto is intensity. It's the shadow. It is death, rebirth, transformation, revolution. And it's sitting next to Venus. This is an intense day. So yay. I also forgot an aspect that's coming up on the 24th. I'm going to back it up one day. So that Pluto conjunct Venus sitting next to each other is going to be in effect all week, but it's just going to be exact on the 25th, which is Christmas. But on Christmas Eve, we have an aspect that has been in play all of 2021, and it's kind of been the change maker for 2021. And it's Saturn square Uranus. It's literally the old versus the new. How are we breaking up the old to make way for the new? And it's so interesting because they're in kind of signs that you wouldn't think about. So Saturn is the old guard, it's structure, government, policies, father time, and it's sitting in the sign of Aquarius. And Aquarius is all about future visioning, humanitarian aspects, community, goals and aspirations, moving into evolution of humanity to help each other and to serve community, right? And it's like Aquarius does not like a box, right? Whereas Saturn likes lines in a box. And so Saturn is coming up to break up the old, to create way for a new era in society. How can we come together with community? This would be like healthcare and Medicare for those people who couldn't have it during COVID. And then as we have Uranus is coming through Taurus. So Uranus, you think about as the wrecking ball, right? Just wrecks everything it comes through because it's breaking it up to make way for new construction. It's breaking up the things that are no longer serving us. And moving through Taurus, it's the earth, it's banking, it's our values, it's our gifts and talents, is anything that we kind of want to kind of create structures that last this test of time. And Uranus moving through Taurus is breaking up those old structures that are no longer relevant. So when you think about these two aspects coming together, it literally is breaking up those old patriarchal systems to make way for the new, for ingenious ideas. For like Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is a huge example of how this has kind of come up this year, and the ups and downs of that market. And the barrier to entry is that people feel uncertain about how does it work, and how do I get in, and how do I get my money out, and who's even taking cryptocurrency. And now when you look at it, there are countries, smaller countries around the world, that are now moving to cryptocurrency as their currency and using it to back their economy. It's like mind-blowing. It's money that doesn't exist in the world. It exists in chains, blockchains and computers. And it takes a lot of energy to create this currency, a lot of energy that the earth then has to provide, which is not great, right? So it's really interesting, this dichotomy of we've got this new currency that's being birthed, but at the same time, it is so inefficient in the energy that it takes to create it. And who even knows where it is? It lives in like cyberland, right? But people create value from it. It's the same thing with fungible tokens, right? Fungible tokens are these kind of unique signatures in cyberland that can be purchased, and they're like unique antiques. They're almost like they're one of a kind. And so people are spending millions and hundreds of thousands of dollars for these fungible tokens. And so some people are going into creating fungible tokens now and seeing if they can do that, right? Remember back in the day when people were buying domains? That's kind of like that, right? And even now people are still buying domains, but it's not as hot as it used to be. So, and maybe it is, and I'm just not hip to the groove on it, but it's really interesting when you start to look at these kind of dynamics for what we value, because what you value then creates value, if that makes sense, right? If I value this pen, and so someone really values this pen too, I can sell it to them for what they value it at. If no one values this pen, then it has no value, right? So that's the stock market. The stock market moves sometimes with zero common sense. If they think something's going to happen, that the stock market will tank with that, right? And we saw that with GameStop, where all of a sudden a bunch of people got together and started buying GameStop up, and people from hedge funds in New York didn't quite understand it. They started dumping money in, and then all these people who were in on it took all their money out and took these hedge fund guys for a ride, which, the part of me, the Scorpio part of me is like, hey, yeah, screw yeah. And they didn't like that. So they started to create rules around that kind of trading and who could allow that kind of trading. And so they kind of stopped that from happening. So that is Saturn square Uranus, right? Breaking up the old dudes and coming in with, how can we skirt the system? How can we create something better? How can we move income and money, Taurus, into the hands of the many, Aquarius, right? So it's really quite interesting when you start to look at that. So that final square between those two is going to be on December 24th. And the first one happened in February 17th. And then it happened again on June 14th. And now it's the final square is December 14th. That's why it's kind of the change maker for 2021. But it's going to come back very, very close together in October of 2022, just not to the exact minute. They will be close, but they won't be on the exact minute. So it's almost going to be like the final test. Did we learn the lesson? So I almost sort of feel like, and this is a bit of a prediction that's not kind of supported by the astrology, but it is and it isn't, but I'm going to say it's an intuitive hit, that I'm going to say that this new kind of Omicron variant that's coming in is going to feel more like a flu, not a flu, but like a cold. It's not going to be as potent as the Delta, but it's more transmissible. So it's going to take over and become more of the kind of the dominant strain, but it's going to be like a cold. And then some people will get it and, of course, get very, very sick, and the hospitals will be able to manage that. But I feel like the rest of us is just going to feel like it's a cold. And it's just going to come to a place where this is our new normal. And so things are going to, as we see numbers rise over Christmas, we're going to see that hospital numbers are not going to rise as as we've seen in the past. And I think this is going to create some natural immunity in the collective. And this is now going to, then we'll be able to move forward now as an endemic society where this, it's just going to be an endemic strain. It's in the society. We're just going to manage it as it flares up. And then October 2022, we will have another flare up and it will test, did we learn the lesson? So can we come back into maybe restrictions or some kind of way with it'll sort of test society in some way, or it could even be an escalation of build up for war during that time too. So because Saturn is the restriction and society, and Uranus is breaking up the old guard. And this could be, we are seeing escalation with China and Russia right now over different things. Russia over escalation over Ukraine, and China over the Beijing Games. So we're going to see how that plays out for 2022. Again, we're just flies on the wall, and it doesn't mean anything for us, really. It's more just seeing how the astrology plays out in the politics of things. And if it does directly affect you, then I'm sending so much love to you and asking you to kind of come into, how can you bring safety and clarity into your life so you can understand how your role plays into this as well. Because everything is here for an opportunity for growth for you. And this, as world events trigger you or affect you, there is opportunity for learning, growth, and healing to come into that too. So I'm sending you so much love if that affects you. And then Saturday, December 25th, we're going to get another sort of test to our values, right? And being very, maybe you're really attached to the presents you gave and the people aren't, giving you the love back, or you're not feeling appreciated, or maybe you're having such great, intense communication and relationships with people that you feel so loved, and it feels like the best Christmas ever. It can affect you in both ways, right? So if it's affecting you in the way where you feel like triggered because no one's appreciating the presents that you gave, or you feel like you spent so much money on these non-appreciating assholes in your life, then coming back into, why did I give the gifts, right? Did I give the gifts from my heart because I love to help and give people things that I love, or did I give these gifts out of obligation? And how do I now want to change that, right? So a trigger is really an opportunity for healing, if you can kind of remember that. And then as we come into December 26th, which is Boxing Day, it is Mercury sextile to Neptune. Now, Mercury is in Capricorn. This is our mind. Our mind is thinking of logical ways that we can apply and our intuition. Neptune is intuition coming in, and spirituality and connection and idealism and one love and all that stuff. So this is a really wonderful day, although with that Venus conjunct Pluto, we're still going to feel that intensity even into next week. So, take that with a grain of salt, that the December 26th, a great day to write, to have clarity, maybe to add to your vision board if you haven't made one yet, or sign up for a vision board workshop, if you will. Also be careful not to spend all your money. You might want to be like, oh my God, everything looks so good. Neptune can be the planet of escapism, or feeling like you're a little confused, or projection onto you as well. So even having conversations with people, you might feel but it feels like it's inspiring. It's light. It's good. It's a good harmonious aspect sextile. So we're feeling like we're getting inspired to create boundaries for ourselves in the future, maybe, or maybe we're creating goals for ourselves moving forward as we're kind of getting downloads and learning from the triggers. That would be a really great positive way to use this aspect. So wishing you a wonderful holiday season. Next week's forecast is going to go into New Year's, which will be interesting as well. And if you so desire, you can sign up for my vision board workshop. You can find a link through my link tree in my Instagram or through my website as well. Or even you can message me and I'll send you that link. And I would love to have you there. Creating vision for the new year, great for manifesting, great to help you kind of create your own kind of manifesto for the year ahead, and keep that front and center on your vision board. I always have mine front and center, reminding me of what is important to me, because we can often get pulled off our center. So wishing you a great holiday season, remembering your bright light and what really is important to you, right? Thank you for being here.